Hello there, welcome back to Charles Circle, and welcome back to Old World. Last time, we rolled a new game, looked at our map, and decided to play it as Egypt, and we got out to a pretty solid start. When we left off, we just founded our second city and started scheming against the local Vandal tribes, who I think we're going to skirmish with today. Let's get back into it. So, we have a succession law. We, because I'm an eldest child, are using primogeniture, but you can play around if you are a youngest child, or if you like the seniority system, which basically just picks the eldest remaining family member. And then, cool, so ambitions. Ambitions are something that you can, just goals, a series of goals that the game will give you that you can pursue, and if you achieve them, it's one of the ways, one of the victory conditions that you can win with. So they also give you a nice little boost to legitimacy and oftentimes a short-term boost along the way. I think we're going to end up killing 5 units before we get to 4 cities, but both of these are quite doable. So we'll line that up, no problem. I think at this point we should start moving military units out here as a priority. So I also think we probably need a second unit, which will probably queue up here because this is our military production city, right? After this worker, I'm trying to think if we should. Yeah, I mean, why not, right? We're gonna go for the better unit. That'll still take a moment, I'm sure, to get to, but why not go for the great bonus that we have fallen into? Let's do it. Let's also definitely grab these ruins. And neat. So we can get some. Wow, okay, no, we're gonna do that. We can get a free tech, aristocracy. This is not just any tech either, this is a good one. We can do that, or some, like a one-off culture bonus and +1 discipline. +1 discipline is a nice permanent modifier, as I've said. Not permanent, at least to the lifespan of our ruler, but 40 gold is just not, like, that's what discipline actually gets you per one. 40 gold's not the most incredible thing, and our city, where she's also a governor, doesn't make enough money that 10% is meaningful at all. So nice, not incredible, absolutely incredible. So we're definitely grabbing this one. So what does aristocracy do? Why am I so excited? Let's hop up to the tech tree to take a closer look. So aristocracy is here. It's a column 2, level 2, tier 2, whatever you want to call it, technology. And there's another one of these sort of law trade-offs. You can do centralization or vassalage. And either of these is better than not having one, usually. Being able to build farms on marsh is nice if you have a lot of marsh around. We don't have any. But 2 research per culture level in our capital city, which is 2 research to start, up to 8 eventually. Not bad. Vassalage is nice for sort of a military focus. If you have a bunch of units, it's cheaper to maintain them, especially if they're out on campaign. Neither of these is powerful enough to spend the 400 civics it takes to enact a law. So why am I so excited? Because it also unlocks the ambassador position. The ambassador position is up here, and it's yet another character position where their traits give you bonuses. It's another slot that we've been leaving empty, essentially, and so any way to fill it is good. So we can pick any of our candidates, any of our characters who don't yet have a job, i.e. are not yet a governor or a general, and we can employ them. It'll cost us 100 civics and 2 orders to appoint them. Fortunately, we just have that. It'll mean that we delay putting a governor in here, but I think I prefer to have that. So one of these is going to be our ambassador and the other our governor. These are both good, but not meaningfully different, and so now I want to come back and remember which one would be a better governor. And I think that answer is actually Seti the Younger, because these are close, but much more importantly, we have happiness, which we'll talk about in a moment, but is a more powerful thing. So all that to say, I think Iput of Waset, being our ambassador, is the most important move we can make right now. What does that do? Well, in addition to, as we said, her charisma stats giving us foreign opinion when we meet another civilization, they will like us better, which means less likelihood of wars we can't afford, and better trade deals and all those things. There are also actions that the ambassador can take. And we can, for example, through our own character, do a character mission to influence, which just means improve the opinion of this character. But this character can also then, for example, go out and try to establish a more lasting peace with the tribes that we're running into. This will take on more importance as we meet other civilizations going forward, but it's very nice to have out of the way early, and anytime you can get a free technology, always an exciting day. And that is, what, 3 that we've gotten now? 1 from our first city and 2 from events? Our luck continues. Let's do a little bit more exploration here with our last couple of orders. And you know what, actually, let's show off the harvest function. So, something we haven't talked about yet, but that can be helpful in the early game, especially if you find yourself with a couple extra orders. As we've mentioned before, the workers are capable of going around and chopping some trees if you're low on wood, but the other thing you can do if you are a scout is to move on to one of these resource tiles out in the world and press the harvest button. This is something that gives you a short-term gain. It doesn't remove the resource. It's very similar to sort of chopping forests without clearing them. After, same timeline even, every turn there's a 10% chance that it will regenerate and become available to harvest again. But until then, it will not be. You can't just stand on the same tile and do it over and over again. But you might as well, if you're out there moving around anyway, harvest, trade 1 order for, say, the 50 gold that you get for harvesting these elephants than you would for the 10 gold that you would get for selling them at the end of your turn. Not the end of the world if you have to do that. It's going to happen from time to time, but if you can find a more productive use for it, you should. So we will. The other thing we can do with a spare order and some spare training would be to promote this unit, for example. And because we're going to ask it to take on 2 extra, or go 2 on 1, we might as well. I think so. Some of there's a bunch of different ones that are possible. Some of them are sort of follow-up, like level 2 ones. So strike 1 leads to strike 2. You're not going to get strike 2 without having strike 1. But it's just like tech. You get 4 randomly selected of the collective ones that are available, potentially, at that moment in time. So you don't have perfect control, but you can customize the unit to whatever your needs are at that time. So here, Ranger's great in general because we're good. We attack. We have potentially the ability to attack from trees a lot. But as I look at the short-term battles we're going to fight, these aren't really attack from trees sort of situations. Same thing with Highlander. Do you want to get a decent bonus for attacking from hills? 25% is a lot. Same with Ranger. Or do you just want 10% against all melee units, or 10% when attacking in general? I think we'll take 10% when attacking in general in this one. That'll cost us 60 training and our last order. Let's go. Okay, we have trapping, and a rival nation has begun working on a wonder. So this is the overview of the fold and redraw system I mentioned earlier with tech. So we've already touched on that. One thing that's kind of interesting though, orders boost is not a technology. You can quote unquote research 20 orders. You can just get that in 7 turns. These are situationally helpful, and I think a really cool idea. It's a way to take essentially a science bonus and translate it into some other things, right? And these one-time boosts, you have to take them when they are presented to you or they are immediately destroyed. So if I decline to research navigation right now, it's going to pop up again in the future eventually. If I decline to research orders boost, this goes in the trash, as the text suggests. That said, I don't want to trade 100 science for 20 orders. It's not a very good trade right now, if ever. Sometimes you get like a very advanced unit. That's helpful. We're going to ignore this one and let this go, sadly. So be it. We also have to have some cheaper ones available, right? These are all very long researches, but I guess we've just sort of drawn by accident only the, I guess, most advanced ones that are technically available to us. Which at least, and I'm still not going to click on it, at least gives one more rationale for sometimes picking these. You can more quickly churn through the draw pile, so to speak. There's also, if you're a scholar leader, right, just sort of touching on different archetypes and their various advantages briefly, you can redraw instead. We can only redraw here by researching something, and so we're gonna have to do that. So I don't know, let's go with the shortest one, colonies and serfdom, another trade-off law, a law trade-off set, but we don't really need boats right now. Should we go here? I like the courthouse a lot. You've heard me talk already a lot about civics. It's an urban building that gives us bonuses to our civics and then a specialist that will do more of that the same. It's also much more expensive. I think we have to just stay with the cheap one for now. All right, so let's continue to advance our spearmen. Let's continue to explore out this way. Be nice to find some more ruins, wouldn't it? And then our other scout can come out here. I feel like we should know more about this region, but if it's a big old forest, I don't really want to spend the orders on it. Ah, the Danes. This is another tribe, like the Vandals. And they seem mad. We can spend some gold, which we definitely have, to make them happy and also give ourselves a permanent bonus. We can we can act a little bit more aggressively and piss them off and grab a free citizen and also get a free bonus to our training production. I already want to pick a fight with the Vandals. I don't think we need to pick two fights at once here. Sadly, that would be the more fun option for sure. Okay, so let's get back out here to exploring. Interesting. Okay, cool. Next turn. Try to pick up the pace here a little bit. I've been trying to explain things along the way because I want to do that, but we also do need to build a little bit of momentum here, and we've already talked about this too. Great. We've already talked about rural yields. So we have trapping, which means that we can, with our workers, including this one we've just built, go build some camps. And camps are great because, would you look at that, you get additional orders. That's pretty good. We certainly like that we can do orders, or get orders as a resource from an improvement. So we're certainly going to do that here. And then, where's our other worker? Oh, he's still building a road, that's right. We'll let him finish that. That's also important. Send him up here. In fact, maybe here. So as an infantry unit, the entire class of melee infantry receive a 25% boost to defense if they're in an urban territory, which is all city site tiles are urban. So we'll attack from here, but more importantly, be attacked in here. What are we building here? Should we add a ranged unit? Probably. I think that's probably the move here. The other one would be to build the settler in anticipation that we'll clear this area, but it might not go that quickly. So I think we're going to be smart and add another military unit and then get back to exploring. Now here, by the way, sometimes harvest yields aren't cash, they can be culture. And since we have some extra orders, and since culture is nice, I think maybe we'll spend one harvesting these gems. Let's just clear out this patch. And we'll call that area good. And then here, let's actually kind of circle back this way. I want to know our more immediate surroundings before we go too far afield. And let's keep going. Do we pick the fight yet? I'm trying to decide. I think we should. I mean, I definitely think we shouldn't, but I think we're going to. Let's do it. Big mistake, right? Okay, but you can see with the combat preview, we are significantly stronger here, and that's nice. We'll certainly take it. So I told you that we have Pierce on here somewhere, right? There it is, as a spearman. And you might be thinking, well, if I can attack the guy behind it, shouldn't I be lining it up over here or over here? Yes, we are, by attacking from here to here, we are foregoing lining that up in a nice little way. But I think it's more important to have a defensive bonus here. And we'd be attacking across a river if we went from here. So I think we'll probably stay here, just because we have one unit. Survivability is our most important outcome, I think. So we'll do that. That's gonna piss these guys off and send them up this way, so I sure hope that we have units in time. We'll find out. I think the most important thing we can do is have visibility on that. And so I think we'll make use of the scout's ability to hide in neutral trees so that we can keep our eyes on these folks, make sure that they're not reacting poorly, and or at least when they very understandably do, we will have advance notice of it. Furs, again, that's a pretty decent culture bonus. It goes to our nearest city, and I guess this one's slightly nearer, so 10, great. And I think, unfortunately, from there, we have a spare order. Let's go. First world religion is founded. We haven't built any shrines yet, so we haven't talked about religion in too much detail, and we haven't even met Carthage, so it's highly unlikely that this is going to be super applicable for us in the short term. So I think we'll punt on this idea for now. But religion is an interesting component in this game, and something that you don't have to go into, but if you do, you'll get some value from it for sure. Let's finish this road, like so. Again, we may need to reinforce this city if we are attacked, so make sure that that's ready. There's our first kill. Cool. Hanging in there, should be able to clear that. Maybe we should have built the settler after all. We're going to keep him here just so that we have visibility. That means that this guy can bounce around, probably do a bit of harvesting too. So, I don't know, let's see what's here. Nothing, great. How about... Nope, still nothing. Harvest. Ooh, an event. We've got a fancy horse, it seems. And so we can give our city this upgrade. New horse units permanently get 50 XP. That's compelling, given what we said the purpose of that city is. We can give ourselves a permanent upgrade of +1 to both courage and discipline, also pretty good. Or we can give that horse, which gives the swift trait, to our friend over here, Seti the Younger, who is the head of the rider's family, and that will give us an opinion bonus with them. This bonus is for even beyond the lifespan of our ruler, so I think we take it. It's very much in line with what we wanted what we want that city to do in the first place. So let's end here and keep visibility, I guess. This is an unfortunate amount of orders that we have left over. The other thing you can spend orders on, if you like, if you also have, say, cash or something, would be one of these missions out here. Character focus missions, I mean. Let me think. Is there anyone who is not happy with us that we would want to be happy with us? Suppose we could try to have some personal diplomacy with the Danes, keep them happy. Vandals are definitely a lost cause right now. Heads of families or religions are the other option. I think we could try to be on better terms with the rider's family. So maybe let's do that, right? So how do we do that? We influence them using gold in 2 orders. And then I also think, we do finally again have enough civics to assign a governor here. So let's get Seti employed as we had planned, and that does nicely use up our orders. Good, cool. Next turn. All right, so our elephant camp is complete. That's nice. We can't do horses yet. Horses require a pasture, different than a camp, right? Camp is what we built here for the elephants, and husbandry is what was required to upgrade the pasture. I actually think, okay, so one other thought. There's lots of little things that work well when you have your families optimized. One is workers from the correct family take 1 less turn to build an improvement in a worker matched city. So in general, you'd rather match them if you can. Now, if you only have a wrong family worker in a city, it's still better to build it a little bit slower than it is to not build it at all, of course. But if you can, might as well. So what I actually think I'm going to do, instead of finishing the road with this guy, although he's still spent his action for this turn, we're going to add the road here and then send this guy back up here to start in on these camps. And in fact, we'll probably have this one follow up and help out, because again, it'll be faster to have 2 workers, even if one is slightly inefficient, do these 4 than 1 highly efficient worker. So it's one of those like nice to have, not need to haves, but something that's worth knowing to increase your overall efficiency over time. We'll keep going here. I think we're on pace to survive this without having to retreat. Although, in 1 turn, this camp will generate another unit, so let's see. We might be happy we have these other units coming out in a couple turns after all. And then here, let's get back to scouting around and trying to harvest along the way, maybe. Let's go out here. More culture. But sadly, I don't think we have any other harvesting opportunities. Ah, the Scythians, another tribe. So they're being nice, which is good. They want to do good personal diplomacy and are willing to give us some dice so that we can gamble. That's very kind of them. We can get 1 legitimacy by being rude to the Scythians. We can get 6 legitimacy by violently suggesting war is a good idea with the Scythians. Let's see. 6 legitimacy is not bad. It's 0.6 orders per turn for forever. And we will eventually want to clear them out for this city site as well. But I kind of don't think we should, just as we did with the Danes, probably shouldn't pick fights with multiple tribes while our military is still comprised of 1 roughly half health unit. I hate to say it, but I think that's probably correct. So, I don't know. Let's see if the dice are fun. From here, we have 2 orders left. Unfortunately, we are already on a mission here, so we won't be able to do much with that. I'm trying to think, we can't yet tutor our heir, too young. Let's see. I'm not sure there's going to be anything else we're able to really do, unfortunately, to make use of these orders, which is fine. Like I said, it's going to happen from time to time. It's just always worth checking, just in case. Hey, free worker. So, our city, Wasset, as I mentioned, accumulates culture until it gets up to another level, and that first bar of 100 culture, I think it was, has completed. And so now we're trying to fill a bar to 500, but we've hit developing culture. We got some victory points. You get victory points for every level of culture times city, which is good. And some other things are unlocked along the way, which we're certainly pleased with. But you also get a neat little event, usually every time you go up a level in a city. And so you should try to do it for that reason as well. Free worker, we'll take it. All right, and this is, there's a particular DLC where they try to do a little bit of court intrigue. I think that's where the dice are from. So I think this is just sort of the intro pitch for that DLC. It's kind of fun. Anything that adds character interaction is nice. And then there's this Grand Vizier position where every city that you haven't bothered or can't afford to give a governor to gets a bonus essentially from the Grand Vizier position. So I haven't made a ton of use of it yet. I'm excited to do more of it, and we'll try to dig into it later on. Okay, and now, who is this? Joser the Herbalist has been traveling about, and he's got himself a new cocktail. And let's see if we want to manipulate that. Oh, free luxury. Free permanent luxury to our capital city for gold that we can afford. Alternately, we can spend a little bit less gold for the same outcome and some civics and bring him in as a merchant as well. Or we can say no for some XP. I think we're going to try to get him in as a merchant. I do like anytime you can grab a character, right? I mean, he's giving us 2.4 civics every turn, so it cost us 90. It probably won't pay back over his lifetime. If it does, it'll be very late. That's not really why we're doing it. We're doing it because he's available now for other jobs. He can be a general, he can be a governor. He's not associated with any particular family, right? Because he's just some random courtier. Oh no, he is. He does have a Ramessidi family. Excuse me. Well, we'll still take it. It's always good to have more characters than fewer. All right, so we said, well, okay, we're at war. We should prioritize our orders to make sure that our military units are safe, essentially. So here, trying to decide, at a certain point we have to retreat. Do you think we can kill both these units before this unit dies? I think so, but we'll find out. And then we have our workers, sort of my next general tier of priority. Let's get these folks working on the fur as well. And I think we'll start, right, with the workers that match the family. And since we have a free new one, that's a great start. We'll get him up here to camp. But again, I think even a slower build of a camp is better than anything else we could be doing with them. So we'll do that. But as you can see, it takes 4 turns instead of 3. Same yield. It's not like it's a worse camp, it just takes longer to build it. So still worth doing, but worth optimizing where you can. 3 more orders for this scout. I'm not sure I see anything worth chasing from a harvesting perspective. That is a ruin though. And we can get 2 citizens and some slums, or we can get a warrior. Ooh. Or we can get a bunch of training at the cost of a permanent degrading of our gold generation, which is a terrible decision to make. This one's kind of cool. This one's also kind of cool. All right, so 2 citizens and slums. Citizens, right, again, are the accumulated growth that we can turn into specialists when we have an improvement where we can employ them. That's a nice start. Slums are a building that will consume food and give you gold, and it will actually level up over time. We'll talk more about the Hamlet line of buildings, which is what it feeds into, a little bit later on. I think, given where we're at though, the free warrior is not bad. And that doesn't at all invalidate the fact that we're building more units. It just accelerates it. We do need to go buy enough iron to afford that option, but I think we're going to do that. There it is. Now, because we got this from an event, it's one of the very few military units that does not actually belong to a family, which in some ways makes it even more valuable. We will want to get it home to upgrade it eventually, I'm sure. We'll want to add a general, but here, because it doesn't belong to a particular family, anyone is capable of commanding it. And yeah, this is a nice little bonus to have. I do wish it spawned in our city, but of course I understand why it doesn't. So let's, I guess, well, actually, you know what I'm going to do with our last order? I'm going to manage our luxuries. So we got that T, part of that event, right? What do you use luxuries for? You can use luxuries for a number of different things. They are a nice little gift that you can give to tribes to make them happier, right? To families to make them happier. And in fact, particular families, by the way, have particular luxury goods that they demand, and fur is conveniently one of the things that we'll be able to supply to our rider family easily. Any luxury will make them happier. These luxuries, well, the lack of them will piss them off until we can give it to them eventually. But the other thing you can do is give it to a city. I'm realizing now we don't have 2 orders, so no, we can't, not this turn. But we're still going to use this as a jumping off point to have the conversation. Why would we send it to a city? So you generate 2 culture and 2 happiness per turn. We have kind of glossed over happiness to this point. There's a reason for that, but we should talk about it now. You start at sort of 0, and you accumulate discontent. Exactly how much is a function of your difficulty level, basically. And you can gain happiness, which is the same as negative discontent, or you can gain discontent, which is the same as negative happiness. If you go too far below, if you fill up this bar, you hit level 1 discontent. And this has a bunch of penalties. Loss of science generation, increase of maintenance, which is to say within a city you generate gold and you pay for upkeep of certain buildings. So it impacts your gold generation, your research, and your opinion with the family whose city it is. These are bad things, and they scale. This will keep going for quite some time. In 2 turns, we're going to hit level 2 here, right? And then we'll be at minus 10% research, and plus 10% maintenance, and minus 40 opinion. These are bad things. You want to be able to counter this. How do you do that? Well, you add happiness, right? And so if you have certain levels of happiness, well, 1, you sort of roll back all of these problems over time, and then you accumulate happiness. Happiness gives you bonuses, you get better growth, you get maintenance reduction, and there's a few different ways to get happiness. So if you are connected to your trade network, which we haven't talked about yet, but if you hold B, you can see is really just means, are you connected to the capital? And you can be connected by way of rivers. Everything in green here is connected via a river, or roads, and that's how we've managed to connect these. Now, riders' cities are always connected by default, right? That's one of their bonuses. But, and actually, here, let's finish the thought. You can see here, as a result, that their happiness generation reflects that. +1 for the governor, which is one of the reasons we appointed him in the first place, but +1 also for being connected. There are also lots of buildings that you can get happiness from, the Bath line of improvements, as well as sending luxuries, which is why we started this conversation in the first place. So again, whoopsie, my bad, it takes 2 orders, not 2, or 2 orders, not 1, so we can't do it this turn, but we will allocate it to one of our 2 cities for the 2 happiness to slow the rate, not fix, but slow the rate that we are generating discontent. It's okay if you're generating this up front. That is the normal curve of the game. It's something that is meant to be addressed, slowly but surely, but it's a really important thing not to forget eventually as well. Okay. So let's, I don't know, with this guy, let's just get, I actually really like healing in neutral territory, especially early. So we're going to do this in, I think is probably the right move. The character here is upset with us, which is why we're getting -5% to combat strength. Something to keep in mind when you assign a general. If they're mad, that's what that yellow is. Eventually that gets red. You get a negative. Same thing in the other direction, by the way, for positive. But let's keep that in mind and see if we can't boost their opinion. All right, next turn. Very curious how we're trending over here. Also, very curious that these group of units hasn't come to attack us yet. Maybe they haven't explored our city. There we go. So we've cleared the tribal site, and we get 220 food for that, which is great because we're consuming 13 of it, and we don't make anywhere near that. Now that doesn't mean that this unit goes away. It does mean, however, that no one can come settle on this city site while we have a military unit here controlling it. In fact, even a scout works for that, I think. So neat. We control this, even if we don't have a settler to use it yet. And we do need to go ahead and kill this unit so that our unit doesn't die, but so far so good. We have cleared that site. Good, good. We've got, okay, so you can hurry production, that's right. There's a bunch of different preconditions, though. You can't do it until you've gotten to at least developing culture. It will almost always, I think always, cost discontent, which is, again, to say negative happiness, and everything we just talked about there. You can spend civics to do it. This is one of the reasons I just don't do it very often, at least with that currency, is that civics are really quite valuable, as I've mentioned several times at this point, in my view. If you have a state religion and a zealot archetype leader, you can hurry using training. If you have the Holy War law and a state religion, you can use gold. You can, if you have volunteers, spend a citizen, a whole citizen, to hurry things. And if you have orthodoxy and a state religion, another law, you can spend orders. These are all very expensive. I generally don't do like any of these, except for very exceptional circumstances. And it also gets more expensive the more you do it. But it is something that you can do, and it's something that if you're in a pinch, you should be aware of. Cool, now we can gamble. I don't know if I want to waste orders on that quite now, but when we have a moment, maybe we'll do it. And cool. Do we want to spend gold to give him a permanent upgrade to courage, which is probably a good thing to do because he's on our single military unit right now? Or do we want to ruin his opinion of us? I think that's pretty clear. All right, here, I think with this guy, we should probably get him over here, upgrade him, and then send him down to this camp while this guy's wrapping up here. Because we want him to be a spearman, not a lowly warrior. One other thought, we can't afford it right now, but because we're in a position where, man, I wish he could move again this turn, you can do force marching. Now we have the double fatigue setting on, where you can spend these training points to allow a force march, but each movement costs 2 orders instead of 1. I think that's a good balance between essentially being able to do that indefinitely, but also still having some flexibility. I think that's generally where the community has landed on what is like the default, but as always, play the game you want to play. And then we should also move our scout. Yeah, let's see here. What do we want to do with this? Poke around this way. Scythians. Nice. How about here? I'm not trading an order for food, right? No, guess I could have. I'm trading it for 10 gold instead, and that would have been more than what it costs right now, so, oh well. But I think the other thing we could do is this general, we said, right, is not super pleased with us, and we could try to improve their opinion. And we should probably send the luxuries, which is actually more important. We're going to do that instead. So let's send to our capital, because the more important a city is, the more impactful a 5, 10, 15% decrease in its generation is. So we'll do that. And then, yeah, all right, fine. 1 order, $10, so be it. Okay, we have finally made contact with another proper competitor civilization, not just a tribe, an actual competitor. And this is Hati. So we have our ambassador already, right? Lovely. What do we want to do? How do we want to think about them? Where even are they? They're down here? We don't care. They're so far away. Yeah, no worries. We're not going to worry about them at all. But you can give them gifts if you want to improve their opinion. You can try to get them to attack someone else. Of course, you can attack them yourself. You can try to gain peace, an alliance. There's a whole bunch of additional missions that you can run, none of which are important to us or that we can afford right now. So be it. Ooh, that I think officially means it's time to retreat with this unit. Yeah, it is. Don't mess around, especially with your important units. We are going to dip back to friendly territory, heal up, and then we'll go back and try again. But we're not going to mess around with that. The AI in this game is really quite good. I mean, it's not a human yet, don't get me wrong, but especially if you're used to the other entries in the genre, this is an AI that, like, you're gonna catch a couple hooks. If they see an opening, they jump on it, and they're really good at eliminating weak units, particularly high value targets. And so if you're not expecting that, if you're not used to it, you might get caught off guard. I certainly did. I think that's awesome. Like, I'm always impressed when an AI is actually good. That is one of the harder things to try to improve, right? Certainly, especially compared to the player's expectations. If you play a game long enough, you can pretty much always beat even the hardest AI. And the way that we make AIs hard in most of these games is to just give them flat bonuses and or flat penalties. And that's not as interesting. And don't get me wrong, that certainly still happens in the difficulty levels of Old World. But it's also, I just think, better than any comparable AI in other games that I've played, at least. So be aware of that. War is expensive. You will lose units. They're not the pushover you think or you might be used to. So you can only heal unless you have a particular general archetype in your own territory. So we need to do that. If you don't move in your own territory, you will slowly regain 1 HP every turn. We don't have time to wait for that, so we're going to spend an order to turn that into 5 HP instead. We will also... Yeah. We will also bring this guy in here, upgrade him to... No, we won't. We don't have the orders. Next turn, we will upgrade him to a spearman. We need to pick a new thing to build here, and yeah, it's gonna be trappers. Since we have that now. So we do still need to add the specialist in order to actually get the luxury out of this. The improvement doesn't do that. The improvement does give us 2 culture and 20 gold, which is pretty good for an improvement, right? But in order to actually get the luxury and be able to send it to a city or a family, we are going to have to actually build the improvement itself. I don't think there's a meaningful difference between these two, and we'll probably build the second one right away anyway. So let's just get going on that. Speaking of, let's just get going, we'll also do this camp. So the estates, this is also a DLC, are an interesting trade-off improvement that you can build, and is one of the ways to get meaningful levels of happiness. It's kind of cool. If you're good at balancing the opinions of your various families, you can get luxury, or excuse me, you can get culture and happiness. And it comes at the scaling in the opposite direction expense of training. So if you're willing to essentially hand over the military reins in a city a little bit, right? Because -4 is a lot, right? Looking at what's that? It's half, literally half of our training. You can get significant bonuses in the other direction. But you do have to be willing to take that trade-off and also to spend the decent amount of resources required and take up an improvement slot. There are times and places where you'll do that. This isn't going to be one of them for us. The other thing I think we should probably do here, and in fact, now that I think about it, I'm going to switch which worker was doing what. We should probably get some food going, right? We are really starting to run quite a deficit there. So let's do that and then have this guy come on over here and next turn, I guess. I'll build this, right? No, we can get going on this there. You don't have to cut down the trees for these camps. Good. Cool, and that'll take all of our orders for the turn. Still very pleasantly surprised that these folks are not storming our city. I guess we are playing down a level of difficulty, but here we are with another spear. Good. And can we afford to upgrade? Well, if we had enough gold, we could. Maybe we will sell some of that stone we started with. And there we go. This guy still needs to heal. I would love if we could put a general on this guy, but we do not have the training for it, so be it. That said, you don't have to have a general to still be a decent fighter, so I guess why not start? And what else can we do? We did build that slinger out here as well. So slinger's the first range unit. I like how they do range units in this game. Being on a hill gives you more range, actually. You can shoot further, but it means that you do commensurately less damage over that range. So it's not, you don't have, rocket-propelled artillery longbowmen or anything, but there is still value in high ground, and it makes the terrain important, which I think is cool. What else do we need to build here? Okay, so here I think it's time to build the trapper, the specialist for this camp. Border's nice, not that these are valuable tiles, but I think even more importantly than the bonus we get in research here is going to be the extra half order. We'll certainly be happy with that. I think we'll focus on workers over more scouting, and we'll probably just want to get this guy home. Yeah, it's fine. Cool. End the semester. We have suffered an earthquake, I guess. So our people are very concerned, even though there's no damage. We either need to give up a bunch of stone. It's about $530 worth of stone. Or a permanent downgrade of 7 civics per turn, but we get 60 in the short term to offset that. Both of these suck. I don't want to click either of these. Alas, we have to click something. And this is what, like 8-9 turns worth of civics being brought forward, actually. I think we'll just do it. It's just a lot, and our finances aren't in incredible shape right now. It's fine, it's not great. Let's... Ooh, is this guy's... Yay, we finally have Pierce lined up. It doesn't do a ton of damage, right? This is why I don't really sell out to get it. But it is nice. And that should clear him out. Cool. So, we can execute the prisoners for minus 20 opinion, as if that really makes a difference here, where we're already down 300. That'll get us additional discipline, or we can get another citizen at the expense of some discontent. I think we'll take the citizen. Yeah. And then, so here, actually, this is kind of interesting. You can see our ranged unit, we can only move to here this turn, but if we were to move closer, we would do more damage, right? So this is the edge of our range. If we were on a hill here, we'd also be able to reach. Can't quite from here. That would be one more tile. But you can see that there's a sort of a drop off in damage that goes along with range, which I think is a cool way to balance, because if you can do full damage at range just becomes incredibly valuable. Here there's at least an offset. Range is still quite valuable. I think it's one of the better unit promotions that you can get eventually, but it's not so broken, which is, I think, a good balance. Got our farm already. These improvements are happening so fast, faster than I'm used to, because we're playing as Egypt, and we have a builder governor as well. -1 semester build improvements. Actually, don't think we have a direct Egypt bonus for that, but it fits into the entire approach. Let's build a lot and quickly. Actually don't know what we should probably prioritize next. I mean, we still don't have much in the way of food. So the question is, where else would we do farming around here? And Egypt does have a bonus to farms next to rivers, right? Out here, this is all hills. I would like to get this to be our mining district, so to speak, overall. And so I would like, if we can, anywhere that's a hill, for that to be a mine, because there's adjacency bonuses, which are nice to have, not need to have, but still nice to have. And I'd rather something like out here be our farming setup. So I think that's what we'll do. Maybe even starting here, so we don't have to spend orders cutting down that tree, although that is a next turn problem for sure. So there you go. We have suffered an earthquake, just as the event from last turn, threatened, I guess. Not great. Let's see. So there's damage. There's pretty significant damage. It's all over the dang place. And any unit ending their turn in an active earthquake is going to lose HP. These don't go for forever, but we don't want any weak units on the earthquake for sure. And if it goes more than 2 turns, we'll definitely have to move guys intentionally away. So I think we're just going to take the discontent and the bonus to our queen, because I can't really justify 90 training right now and that much food either. So oof, that sucks, but we're going to have to take it. All right, to the military though. So let's see if we can't wrap up out here. I think we'll do like so. Should clear all that out. And then this guy will go next turn. This is also very counterproductive if I'm trying to heal this guy. What are you going to do? But let's do that and hope that the earthquake is over next turn. I don't know. We'll see. So there's that. And then this guy, we said we were going to do a farm here. Probably next door as well eventually. But until then, yikes. Yeah, well, that's temporary from the earthquake, but what are you gonna do? Actually, I think, yeah, we will go ahead and build a farm here too. And we need a new research. So pastures are how we're going to be able to actually make use of all the horses lying around. So we'll do that next. Next turn. We've met Aksum. This seems good. we're going to take this one. We happen to be, which are we? Regal or thoughtful? Unclear. But this is an available option for us. Is thoughtful include, there it is. It's a subset of archetypes. And because we are a builder, we are regal. Got it. Okay, cool. So we will get a minor opinion debuff from Axum, but we'll get a courtier, which we're very happy about. So take that. And good, the earthquake is over. All right, let's wrap up here. There we go. Look at that. We've completed our first ambition. We also get 10 legitimacy. That's a good chunk. We're definitely happy about that. So let's get folks moving again. Post-earthquake, we'll repair a little bit. And I think then, at the end of this turn, we'll go ahead and call it an episode. It'll be, I think, a pretty decent first couple of episodes here. We've got a pretty good start going. Here we are. Let's say, yeah, spearmen, sure. We've got ourselves a decent little military. That is not so bad at all. We've cleared our first 2 extra city sites after founding our first 2 cities. And we're kind of leveling up a lot of our military that is going to allow us to roll into these other tribes to expand our cities. So hopefully you can kind of see where we're heading here. And yeah, I think it's a pretty good start. I think we're going to be in a pretty good place going forward. So here we are. This is our little world. This is our little Egypt, as Egypt is famously covered in hills, mountains, and trees. I think, you know, we're at least well positioned to move out into these plains. And we've really built already a lot of improvements in our capital. So I feel good. I feel good about our start. And I'm enjoying this. I'm having a blast here. I might even take a coffee break and then start filming the next one. So hopefully you've enjoyed yourself here. I certainly, as I said, am. If you are enjoying yourself, then definitely be sure to stop by to see what we get up to in the next one. I think it is probably going to be a pretty aggressive expansion one. We need to pop out a couple settlers to grab these city sites, but we're gonna snowball. Might be the Scythians who are the unfortunate victims of our expansion out here to the east. Let's see. Stay tuned. Until the next one, though, have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.